Hi everybody. Hi, so it's Laura from Laura Cully Hypnotherapy, and today I want to talk about generalised anxiety disorder and talk a little bit about some of the symptoms of generalised anxiety disorder and how that kind of differs from everyday stress. So obviously we all have stresses and anxieties. We all go through times when we feel calm and relaxed, and we go through times when we feel anxious and stressed. So I think generalised anxiety disorder, GAD, G-A-D, differs in that when we go through an anxiety or a stressful time, it's usually related to something. So it's related to a particular situation that we find ourselves in. Could be to do with illness or family member being ill, could be a bereavement, could be moving house, new job, worries over finances. Usually if somebody says to you, what are you worried about? There's usually some reason. So we go through these stresses in life, and that's all perfectly normal. But it becomes generalised anxiety disorder when these feelings continue, when they're with you day after day, and when that stress has passed. So once the cause of that stress or anxiety has moved on, so you've moved house and things have settled down, or your finances are now sorted, whatever it is, but you're still getting that feeling of anxiety. So then it becomes more general. So what are the psychological symptoms? So restlessness is a big one. So feeling that you can't relax, you can't sit still, you can't focus on anything. Your mind feels really busy all the time. Just that lack of focus, and you just feel distracted all the time. Feeling on edge. A lot of people describe this feeling that they just feel really nervous and edgy all the time, and you might find yourself snapping at people or getting really short-tempered when perhaps previously you weren't. Just feeling really tense. And also there's this sense of dread that goes with it. I call it the impending sense of doom, because I suffered for years with general anxiety, so I know that feeling so well. And people can ask you, what's wrong? What are you worried about? And you just don't know. You can't put your finger on it. But it's just as though you're walking around with this black cloud over your head, and it doesn't matter what you do, who you talk to, it just won't go away. You have this anxious feeling that something awful is about to happen, but you have no idea what it is. So it's dreading something, but it's quite frustrating when you can't put your finger on it, because there's nothing you can do about it. You don't know how to get rid of it. Also, it can affect your sleep. So, if you're worrying all the time, you lie down to go to sleep at night, and everything starts to worry you. Things that you wouldn't previously even thought about become this huge mountain, and you just wonder how you're going to get through. So what I would say is, I think that generalised anxiety can quite quickly lead into depression. So if you're finding that you're getting to the stage where this really is becoming a problem, and you've stopped going out, you've stopped socialising, you've stopped being able to go to work, and even you're just feeling like you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, that you're really struggling to even get up and kind of continue with life, feeling quite depressed, wondering what's the point of everything, please, if you've got to that stage, do go and speak to your doctor, go and see your GP, and just let somebody know how you're feeling. Okay, it's really, really important. So there are some physical symptoms as well of generalised anxiety, and one of the main things is feeling really tired. If you can imagine being really, really stressed all the time, feeling like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, it is tiring. Your mind is active all the time. You're probably not sleeping, so it is very, very tiring. So if you find that you're feeling tired and you're worrying about things a lot, then it could be that you've got generalised anxiety disorder. Other physical feelings, so feelings of feeling dizzy or feeling faint. If you're feeling like that a lot, just not really feeling yourself, getting these dizzy spells, obviously please go and talk to your doctor, because this also could be a number of other things, but it is one of the symptoms of general anxiety. Having muscle pains, so you'll probably find that quite often you're feeling quite tense. So your muscles tense up. Shaking, trembling, sweating, all these things. So things that you think about when you generally feel nervous. If you're getting these symptoms and they're just coming out of nowhere and you can't really relate them to anything, could be general anxiety. A lot of people feel breathless. So obviously anxiety can quite quickly lead into panic attacks or anxiety attacks or episodes, I like to call them. I always think attacks sounds quite aggressive, doesn't it? If you're feeling anxious anyway or panicking, people start talking about panic attacks. Just, yeah, not a great word. So let's call them episodes, these anxiety episodes, because these things do change. So, some days you might be feeling all right, you always have that sense of anxiety, but it can quite quickly go downhill and you can start to lead into panic episodes. And you might find that your heart beats really quickly, you feel you're breathless, you might get upset stomach, you might feel quite nauseous. So all of these things, it can start as this kind of general anxiety, but they can progress. Another thing that people quite often describe to me is feeling of pins and needles. So they find that, their body just feels strange, and some people get it down one side. A lot of people say that to me. It's just one side of their body that starts to tingle, and they get pins and needles, and obviously that's quite worrying. So again, that just makes them even more anxious. And also headaches is another symptom. And another thing that people describe is like it's feeling that they're just vibrating. It's like they've got this vibration going on in their body and they just can't relax and they can't calm down. Hello, Sally. Have you ever come across anyone started getting facial spasms and body twitches? Well, again, I would always say, please go and speak to your doctor and just make sure that everything else is ruled out. But do you know what? Our minds are so powerful, and you'd be surprised at the things people come with. And so, yeah, I mean, facial spasms, body twitches, I think can be down to anxiety. I think if you've ruled everything else out, so please do make sure that you get these things checked out by your doctor. But if everything else has been ruled out and your doctor says to you, perhaps you're just anxious, then yeah, I can quite see that happening, Sally. Thank you. So another thing that people say to me is that, well, I've always been anxious, and I think I always will be. I'm just an anxious person. And I always feel really sad, and I think it's probably because I've been through, I was always like that. I mean, I can remember being anxious as a very young child. It started years and years and years ago. I remember starting school and being anxious, and I thought, well, I'm just an anxious person. This is just the way it is, and it got very severe at one time. But you know what? You can overcome it. You can actually learn techniques, and you can learn strategies. You can learn to monitor your thoughts. So that you can start to recognise your triggers if there are particular feelings that you start to get. So you can overcome anxiety. So please don't think that just I'm an anxious person, that's the way it is, and have that kind of fixed mindset, because we are changing all the time. And we actually have a lot more control than we believe, but sometimes you just need that little bit of help to start to learn these strategies, to learn relaxation techniques. So exercise is a great thing to do. So if you are feeling anxious, sometimes just going out, if you can, just getting out for a brisk walk can help. Just any sort of exercise really. And they do recommend 150 minutes a week of kind of moderate intensity exercise is really good. So if you can just get out, get your heart beating, get a little bit sweaty, get your heart beating, but in a good way, in that kind of physical exercise way, really, really good. Can obviously helps with your muscle tension. It helps to release that tension in your muscles, helps to boost your serotonin levels, so it's naturally raises your mood and can make you feel a lot calmer. Another thing that a lot of people who come and see me, they've turned to things like smoking and drinking, and I ask them, well, how do you relax? Well, I have a cigarette. Now, of course, nicotine is actually a stimulant and can make you feel more anxious, so maybe at the time when you're smoking you feel as though it's helping to calm you down, but long term it's really not a good strategy, because it can actually lead to you feeling more anxious. So smoking is not a great way to deal with generalised anxiety. It doesn't work long term. So if you're relying on cigarettes, first thing I would say is, obviously it's up to you, but if you want help with giving up smoking, then go and see somebody about that. But don't rely on it as your method of relaxation. And drinking is another one. Well, I relax by having a couple of glasses of wine. And again, now at the time, yes, while you're drinking, you relax and it's all brilliant. But a lot of people tell me that as soon as that effects of the alcohol start to wear off, the anxiety comes back with even more power. And another common thing is waking up in the morning with that sense of dread. So if you're waking in the morning and just, you get that early morning anxiety, actually having a drink the night before can make that a lot worse. You can wake in the morning feeling a lot more anxious than if you'd had a chamomile tea or something before you've gone to bed. So so do please talk to somebody. Other things that you can do are relaxation. Things like meditation is brilliant, and I don't mean sort of sitting and clearing your mind, because I know that it's really difficult when you're anxious and you're just sitting with your own thoughts. Sometimes you need somebody to guide you through. So guided meditation, just sometimes having that voice is quite comforting, helping you to relax and just taking you somewhere else for a little while can really help. So yeah, meditation, yoga is really good if you can link your mind and your body. Any other hobby really, anything that just keeps you occupied, takes your mind off of the day-to-day worries and stresses of life. If I find things like drawing and colouring quite meditative in themselves. You're really focused on something. So anything like that really. So yeah, and obviously hypnosis, something that I use a lot, self-hypnosis, something that I use with my clients. So, sometimes there are underlying things that we need to get to. So I kind of work in two ways. I use hypnosis to help clients, but also will give you tools. So I use a lot of cognitive behavioural therapy. So kind of coming at it from both sides really, giving you tools and skills so that you know that you can reduce that anxiety when you want to, but also just helping you to relax generally. So Sally, we'll have to have a chat. We'll have a talk. Okay, so thank you all very much for watching and listening. Please, if you want to get in touch and have a chat, then do. I offer a 45-minute strategy call so we can have a really good talk about what's going on with you and, whether or not I am the right person to help you, whether I'll be able to help you, or, whether I could refer you on to somebody else. So have a really good day, everybody, or, well, almost lunchtime, isn't it? So afternoon, and I will be back to speak to you soon. Bye.